Good morning. Good Thursday morning. Oh yeah, Thursday. Busy day for me today. That's okay. I don't mind the busy days most of the time, right? Anyway, I hope you're having a good morning. Hope you're having a good week, month, year, decade, life, century, right? I just hope things are good all the way around. Although I know there are going to be challenges because we are breathing, right? Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble." Actually, I want to talk about that a little bit this morning. I called this the forever factor, and I am in a little bit of a hurry. The nurse is coming in just at 8:30, so I gotta get done, right? But so I can't play today. I gotta get on task, right? So I'm going to talk about trouble. I read several different places this morning. I started in Isaiah, and that got me to thinking about some things out of Exodus. So I went over to Exodus, right? And I'm in Exodus 3, where Moses is comes on the burning bush. Now the burning bush, I don't know what I was trying to figure out what it would be today. What would that if this type of event, if God caused this type of event today, would it be a talking cell phone tower? Would it be a talking microwave? Would it be a talking? I don't know. What would it be, right? But I don't know. I'll have to think about that. That was just a side note. Sorry, that was free. But here he is, and God speaks to him, right? He speaks to Moses, and here's what he tells him. And this is so powerful to me because in life we have all these situations, right? I mean, come on. Most of the time people don't, well, we kind of have two extremes, right? We have this whole extreme over here where everybody says everything's fine, but in the background there's all these other things going on that they're not talking about. Maybe some of it's because they don't want to address it themselves. It's hard. It's hard. If I can ignore this problem, if I can ignore this issue, I don't have to deal with the emotions, because dealing with the emotional part is the hardest part because it's unseen and immeasurable, right? And then we have this other kind of, on the whole other end of the spectrum, we have some of us who just dump everything out there, and those sometimes that's why I stay off Facebook sometimes. Everything's out there. So somewhere real life is in between, right? Where there's good things, there's bad things, there's things you share with others, there's things that are private, right? And so here Moses is in the back of the wilderness, and and here's what God tells him. Oh wait. Here's what God tells him in Exodus 3, verse 7. Then the Lord told him, now he's come up on the burning bush, and God's already said, "Take your shoes off, man. You're on holy ground. I'm talking to you. So get yourself right. I'm talking to you," right? And then he says this, "You can be sure I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries for deliverance from their harsh slave drivers. I am aware of their suffering. I have come to rescue them and lead them out." That was powerful to me this morning. That just resonated inside me today. God told them, "I've seen what you're going through." And sometimes that's enough to just know that God sees, to know that he's heard those sighs that are deep inside that you ain't even got words for, right? That he's seen those tears and knows all of the emotions behind every single tear, even though you can't even express it in words, right? He's seen, he's heard, he's aware of it, and he has come to rescue. Now, God doesn't always get us right out of a situation, but he does always rescue our soul. He will give, that's what the peace is all about. In the middle of turmoil in life, because we're going to have that tribulation, we're going to have struggles, we're going to have problems, right? But right in the middle of that, his peace comes to rescue us. Even though he doesn't always ride in on a white horse and take us out of it, and that's one thing I learned after Chris had his wreck. I just kept thinking God was going to ride through on a proverbial white horse and whisk us out of there, and it was all going to be okay, and Chris was just going to get up and we're going to walk. And you know what? It didn't happen like I wanted. But that did not mean that God was not present. God still hears. God still sees. And he still rescues our soul. He is healed in the middle of the battle, right? And so, but I want to tie this into a scripture later in this chapter, because over here in if you go on over to verse 14, because Moses says, okay, I'll go, fine, but who am I going to tell them sending? They're not going to believe me if I just say God. Who am I going to say is sending me, to Pharaoh? And God told Moses this: I am the one who always is. Now the old King James says, I am who I am, right? And then he goes on to say this. He says, just tell them, I am has sent me to you. Tell them the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This will be my name forever. It has always been my name, and it will be used throughout all generations. And down at the bottom, the little side note down at the bottom on the pi verse 314, sorry, math person here. It says, I am who I am, or I will be what I will be. And what that did to me this morning was, I was like, that's a forever factor. Now, we talked about, I think earlier this week or late last week, I don't remember, that by faith, we're still Abraham's seed. So the God of Abraham is still our God. The God of Jacob is still our God. The God of Isaac is still our God. That covenant is still in place for us. It's a forever factor, right? And so God is, I am who I am, or I will be who I will be. He is always still our God. That means he still always, superlative there, hears our cries. That means he always is aware of the areas we are suffering in. That means he's always seeing he hears us, he sees us, and he is aware of what we're going through, right? No matter, and that can be good or bad. He gets it. He gets us, and he will always get us, because that's the forever factor, right? And so no matter what kind of situation we find ourselves in today, the best or the worst or somewhere in between, God gets us. He still sees, he still hears, he still follows along in our lives, right? He walks through time with us, and he's still going to rescue our souls, because he's still that same God that cares about his people. This whole thing just kind of, this chapter 3 of Exodus, was just really was great. He says, I'm coming to get my people. And then I started thinking about this. See, God promised Abraham. God said, your children, all your nation basically is going to be taken captive for 400 years, but then I'm going to come get them. And Joseph believed that promise so much that right before he died, he said, okay, when God does come to get us, make sure you take my bones, my dead dry bones with you, because only me here. I want to be a part, even though I'll be gone. I want to be a part of that promise that God made. And God still delivers us today. He still comes for us today. I mean, the biggest act of that, the biggest sign of that, is that he sent Jesus, right? He already redeemed us. He already saved us. We just got to believe it, like Joseph, and say, well, I'm going. I'm going. When God comes to get his people, I'm going. When God comes for me, I'll be right here waiting for him, right? I'm going to trust him today with these emotional extremes. I'm going to trust him today with the lack of emotions, right? I'm going to trust him today with the things I fear, or the things I don't fear, or the things I don't even know enough to fear, right? I'm just going to trust him with everything today, because he's still the same God, because of that forever factor, because he says this will be my name forever. It has always been my name, and it will be used throughout all generations. Raise your hand. You're part of the all generations. That means we're still calling on the name of God. Isn't that an amazing, that's a good run, right? This generation, we're still calling on God, and those coming behind me, because I'm the older generation now, right? I'm moving on up, right? And so, but my grandchildren are still calling on the name of God, because he made a covenant with Abraham, and we're part of that. He sees us, he hears us, he feels us, and he comes for us. He'll do it every time. We just got to trust him. Sometimes we got to wait on him, right? You guys, I hope I said something that made sense. I hope I didn't cram too much in there. Have a great day. Peace out. I'll see you tomorrow.